Life is full of suffering and chaos, but through sacrifice and the pursuit of meaning, we can transform that suffering into something meaningful. This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical guide to living a better life. So let's break this down. We'll start by exploring the concept of sacrifice, then move into the role of suffering, and finally, we'll talk about how to pursue meaning in your own life. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how to confront chaos, make meaningful choices, and create a life that truly matters. At its core, sacrifice is about giving up something in the present for something greater in the future. It's a trade-off, a negotiation with the future. But sacrifice isn't just about practicality. It's deeply tied to meaning. Think about it. Every meaningful achievement in life requires sacrifice. Whether it's building a career, raising a family, or pursuing a passion, you have to give up something, time, comfort, or even relationships to achieve your goals. But why is sacrifice so hard? Because it requires us to confront our limitations and endure discomfort. It's much easier to take the path of least resistance, to do what's expedient rather than what's meaningful. Let's break this down further. Sacrifice is essentially a way of bringing order to chaos. In life, chaos represents the unknown, the unpredictable, and the uncontrollable. Order, on the other hand, represents structure, stability, and meaning. When you make a sacrifice, you're saying, I value the future more than the present. I'm willing to endure discomfort now to create something better later. For example, think about a student studying for exams. They could choose to go out with friends and have fun, but instead, they stay home and study. That's a sacrifice. They're giving up immediate gratification for the sake of a better future. But here's the key. Sacrifice isn't just about achieving goals. It's about affirming your values. When you make a sacrifice, you're saying, this is what matters to me. This is what I'm willing to fight for. Let's look at a deeper example, the story of Cain and Abel from the Bible. Cain and Abel both offer sacrifices to God, but Cain's sacrifice is half-hearted, while Abel's is his best. God favors Abel's sacrifice, and Cain becomes resentful, leading to the first murder in the Bible. What's the lesson here? Half-hearted sacrifices lead to chaos. If you're not willing to give up something meaningful, you'll never achieve something meaningful. Cain's resentment and jealousy stem from his unwillingness to make a true sacrifice. So how does this apply to your life? Think about the areas where you're holding back. Are you making half-hearted efforts in your career, relationships, or personal growth? Are you choosing the easy path instead of the meaningful one? The truth is, sacrifice is hard, but it's necessary. Without sacrifice, there can be no growth, no achievement, and no meaning. So the next time you're faced with a difficult choice, ask yourself, what's the meaningful choice? What am I willing to sacrifice for a better future? Now let's talk about suffering. Suffering is an inevitable part of life. No matter who you are or what you do, you will face pain, loss, and hardship. But here's the key. Suffering isn't just something to be avoided, it's something to be transformed. Think about it. When you go to the gym, you're intentionally causing yourself pain to become stronger. The same principle applies to life. Suffering, when approached correctly, can be a catalyst for growth. It forces us to confront our limitations, question our assumptions, and develop new strengths. Let's break this down further. Suffering is often seen as something negative, something to be avoided at all costs. But this is a mistake. Suffering is a natural part of life, and it serves a purpose. It's the fire that forges us into stronger, more resilient individuals. For example, think about someone who goes through a painful breakup. In the moment, it feels unbearable. But over time, they may come to realize that their relationship wasn't healthy and the breakup was necessary for their personal growth. The suffering they endured becomes a turning point in their life. This is what Peterson means when he talks about voluntary suffering. Voluntary suffering is the willingness to confront pain and hardship head-on rather than running away from it. It's the choice to face your fears, take responsibility for your life, and endure discomfort for the sake of something greater. Let's look at a deeper example. The story of Jesus Christ. Christ's crucifixion is the ultimate example of voluntary suffering. He willingly endures unimaginable pain for the sake of others, and through his sacrifice, he brings redemption and renewal. What's the lesson here? Suffering, when embraced voluntarily, can be transformative. It's not just about enduring pain, it's about using that pain to grow, to learn, and to create something meaningful. So how does this apply to your life? Think about the areas where you're avoiding suffering. Are you running away from difficult conversations, avoiding responsibility, or numbing your pain with distractions? The truth is, suffering is inevitable, but how you respond to it is up to you. You can either let it destroy you, or you can use it as an opportunity for growth. By confronting your suffering head-on, you transform it into something meaningful. So the next time you're faced with a difficult situation, ask yourself, how can I use this suffering to grow? What can I learn from this experience? By reframing suffering as an opportunity for growth, you can transform it into something meaningful. Finally, let's talk about the pursuit of meaning. Meaning is what gives our lives purpose and direction. It's what makes the sacrifices and suffering worthwhile. But here's the challenge. Meaning isn't something you find, it's something you create. Let's break this down further. Meaning comes from aligning your actions with your values and goals. It's about pursuing what matters to you, even when it's difficult. For example, think about someone who volunteers at a homeless shelter. They're not getting paid, and it's not always easy, but they find meaning in helping others. Their actions align with their values, and that gives their life purpose. But here's the key. Meaning requires sacrifice. You can't pursue what's meaningful without giving up something in return. Whether it's time, comfort, or resources, you have to be willing to make sacrifices to create meaning in your life. Let's look at a deeper example. The story of Sisyphus from Greek mythology. Sisyphus is condemned to roll a boulder up a hill for eternity, only to watch it roll back down each time. On the surface, this seems like a meaningless task, but philosopher Albert Camus argues that Sisyphus can find meaning in the struggle itself. What's the lesson here? Meaning isn't about the outcome, it's about the process. Even in the face of futility, we can find meaning by embracing the struggle and taking responsibility for our actions. So how does this apply to your life? Think about the areas where you're seeking meaning. Are you pursuing goals that align with your values? Are you willing to make sacrifices to create a life that truly matters? The truth is, meaning is a choice. It's not something that's handed to you. It's something you have to create through your actions and decisions. By pursuing what's meaningful, you can transform your life and create something truly worthwhile. So the next time you're faced with a difficult choice, ask yourself, what's the meaningful choice? What aligns with my values and long-term goals? By pursuing what's meaningful, you can create a life that's truly fulfilling.